I'm Trevor Sumner of LocalVox. Learn about local marketing next on Marketing Made Simple TV.
Welcome to Marketing Made Simple TV. I'm Jeff Ogden, the host of the show, and we're thrilled to have you back again. And we're going to talk about a kind of a different topic today, local marketing. It's hot. And we're going to bring on a real expert, Trevor Sumner of LocalVox. So let's welcome Trevor to the show.
Jeff.
Hey, Trevor.
How are you doing, Jeff? Good to see you. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's exciting to have you on the show. I'm going to start you off with the first question we ask every guest on the show. It's a tradition of the show, and it's very simple. Who are you, and what do you do?
So hello, my name is Trevor Sumner. I'm the co-founder and president of LocalVox. And what we do is we help drive consumers from online to in-store sales. So there's a great deal of online marketing that can happen to drive in-store consumer behavior, and we help very big brands such as AMC movie theaters or Buffalo Wild Wings, all down to SMBs, take advantage of all the online local touch points to help drive sales.
It's interesting, Trevor, and I think you're doing an admirable job in this industry. Now let's talk about advertising versus content marketing. I think that local companies are addicted to advertising, right? You get the flyers in the newspaper, local TV ads, etc. What's going on there, and what should they be doing differently?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I agree with you. I think they are addicted to advertising, and a lot of them are struggling with the cultural shift to more marketing-based metrics. A lot of them are using decade-old ad models to justify their marketing spend. Actually, Craig, if you bring up our first slide, there was a survey done to local businesses about which marketing channels were actually effective in driving leads and new customers. And what you find is just all the way on the far right is all the advertising. So pay-per-click advertising, only 2% of local businesses think it's effective in driving new customers. And then TV and radio are even worse. But people do them because you can just pay to get scale. If you measure yourself on something like reach, obviously you're going to pick the things that scale the easiest. But what we're finding, especially with the decline of click-through rates, with the amount of ad fraud that's being reported out there, that really ads are becoming less and less effective. And what Facebook, what mobile companies are doing are repackaging content as ads, and that's how they're trying to move up the stack. But the reality is, if you ask local businesses what works, it's about word of mouth and social media. It's about search engine optimization, online local directories, mobile, email, and and flyers too. And so what we focus is basically on all the ones on the left that are really effective in engaging customers and making an impact and creating brand lift, and figuring out how to create scale for retailers or QSRs, quick service restaurants, or large kids and child care type facilities. How do you scale that to thousands and thousands of locations? Because that's a real struggle. And so we create an integrated marketing platform to do that. But besides what we do, this industry is in a kind of an embarrassing state if you look at what they're doing for local search engine optimization as an example.
That's interesting, Trevor, and it was interesting that advertising is so ineffective. That's really the lesson there. Very, very interesting stuff. Now, you talk about word of mouth and content marketing is important. What kind of content can brick and mortar companies create?
Yeah, I mean, the first part is to just focus on one of the most effective marketing channels, and that's around search, right? So putting out content that is associated with what your clients are searching for. So, we're working with one quick service restaurant where office catering is, an offering that they're trying to break into. So they publish content on office catering. Just going a little deeper in the local search side of the house, Craig, if you'll bring up slide 2, when you realize just literally how massive local search is, it makes you kind of pay attention. So there are about 7.6 billion local searches every month, right? And if you look at the amount of intent that goes on, 87% of mobile consumers who search for a type of local business call or go to that type of business within 24 hours. So your goal is to match up a lot of that content with the search engines, because if you do the math, that's a tremendous amount of retail that's influenced by kind of local search. And we forget that 95% of retail continually still happens on a local level. It's just you have the opportunity to influence that with online. You can put that out there. I think there's a lot of other stuff that you can put out there once you start building, your earned and owned media channels. So once you have, you're leveraging your Facebook location pages, or you've built a Facebook presence and following. Once you have an email list, preferably an email list by location, so that you can target the right content to the right people. You can put out any type of content to remind a customer why they should come back to you, whether it's a new kids ballet class at a Fast Track Kids or the Little Gym, whether it's a new sandwich that's offered at a quick service restaurant, a happy hour at a basic restaurant. There are plenty of loyalty-oriented messaging that you can put out there that both ranks on local search, but also leverages the owned media channels that you've put together. So the content world is really wide, and if they would put as much emphasis on putting out the right types of content across the right local channels, what they'll find is that content marketing and local marketing is 16 to 20x more cost-effective than pay-per-click. It's really just about making that cultural shift, bringing the resources in-house, and then leveraging the technology that allows you to scale to hundreds or thousands of locations.
It's interesting, Trevor. Obviously, one problem with pay-per-click ads is as soon as you turn off the flow of money, the leads stop.
That's right.
So you're not building any asset there. So yeah, that's an interesting statistic on local search. When almost 9 out of 10 people do a local search and then go to that location or call that location, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing statistic. Yeah.
It's a high amount of intent. People, now that we have mobile phones in our pocket at all times, we're constantly searching of where to go, what to do, what to eat, and we haven't yet caught up. That the demand is exceeding the marketing supply. If there really was a supply for marketing messaging, we're become really adept at avoiding advertising. Nobody misses, a banner ad, right? But you miss when you didn't find out about that event, or you didn't hear about that great new thing that's happening at your local place. Quite often when people think of McDonald's, they think of the brand McDonald's and not their location. We're trying to get to the point where we enable brands to connect on from a location to a consumer, because inherently that's what local means. And doing that at scale is difficult. Actually, Craig, you want to pull up the third slide? If you think about the challenge of a Macy's or a Walmart or Whole Foods, is that to establish that local connection. If you have 1,000 stores, that means putting out that content to 1,000 Yelp pages, 1,000 Yahoo pages, 1,000 Bing location pages, 1,000 Google Pluses. Facebook rates a location page for you whether you want one or not. And what we find is that you can increase your social media reach by 10 to 15% just by claiming that. There's that many likes that you're just not leveraging. And then you think about local publishers and email lists and mobile targeting. How do you manage that at scale? It's a lot easier just to say, I'm going to spend 10% more money on my pay-per-click campaign and hope that it gets me my reach numbers. So we're really kind of trying to figure out how do we scale this to the largest of retailers so that they can really make a local impact.
It's interesting, Trevor. So what are some of the most common mistakes, misconceptions, overlooked opportunities that local companies make today that you see?
Yeah, as I said, I wish the industry was in a better state, but I think it's a little bit embarrassing. So first off, we all know that we all use Google Maps. We use Google Maps because they're on 83% of local searches. They show up as Google's own little directory in the map on the page. We use them on our mobile phones. If you're on an iPhone, most people use Google Maps because it's better. And obviously, if you're on an Android, it powers it. Yet at the same time, 70% of brands have not claimed their location pages, which means that they're not optimized for the map. So if you're searching, it's so much less likely that you're going to be on the map. And these are big retailers, like Banana Republic doesn't have, hasn't claimed and optimized their Google Place pages. So, there's some basic blocking and tackling that needs to be done, and really understanding what's valuable in the local space. There's some, small tactics that can have a huge effect. One QSR made a simple change to their store locator and got 125,000 visits extra a month from Google, because now all of a sudden they showed up on map searches. That's the type of thing that, the type of impact simple kind of local optimization can have. So, common problems is just not having the eye on the ball. The other is that there is a responsibility gap in a lot of retailers specifically who have an e-commerce site, right? Because all of the online guys are focused on driving traffic to the e-com. Meanwhile, you've got over here, you've got the guys in charge of in-store revenue, and they're all fighting for the same marketing dollars. So instead of working together, the online guys figuring out, I've got SEO expertise, I can help you drive in-store sales. Instead, they're almost adversarial. So there's a responsibility gap that needs to be bridged in terms of, helping the in-store guys generate more in-store sales through online, but the online expertise is over at the e-commerce site. So, from a CEO level perspective, there's a lot of a cultural alignment that has to happen to get there. But if you're the in-store manager, if you're in charge of physical retail sales in a brick and mortar location, you better be aware that the online marketing can have a huge impact on your top line number, and you better find the resources, whether it's internally or in another group, and you need to bring them to you, because you should move now. Now is the best opportunity. If 70% of your competition isn't doing even the basic stuff, here's your chance to jump to number one pretty quickly. It's just going to get harder and harder over time.
I think there's good hope for people when you say basically their competition sucks. So if they do a pretty good job, they have a good chance. So the point, I think, the takeaway here, Trevor, is it's not that hard. Just start doing a few things well, and you can move up very quickly. So we talked a little bit about why they should be focusing on marketing instead of advertising. We talked about content marketing. We talked about some common mistakes. Let's talk a little bit about who's doing it well. Do you have some examples of people who are doing an exceptional job that we could hold up as case study?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Whole Foods, as an example, is doing it relatively well. They have a director of marketing at every single location, and they have local Facebook and Twitter accounts. They put out local content. They do a national campaign about about their kind of wine offerings, and talk about wine pairings for specific events like Thanksgiving, what to pair with turkey. And then the local managers will actually put out specific things and specific people you can connect to in the store to connect and figure out what the right wine is. And that's just one example where national is coordinating with kind of the frontline stores. They have an email newsletter separate for every single location. Actually, Whole Foods throws a lot of events, whether it's kind of teen Iron Chef type stuff, or their concierge service where they'll walk you through and show you where the products are for your dietary restrictions. So they're doing a really great job. It's probably not a fair example because most companies, each location isn't as big as Whole Foods, right? I mean, a single Whole Foods location is probably a lot bigger in terms of a revenue number than most brick and mortar locations. I think places like the Little Gym are doing some interesting things about empowering franchises to kind of build on their own audiences. I read an article about a hotel chain, the Red Lion, who created microsites for every single one of their hotels, really created tips about what to do and where to go around that neighborhood. And I think when you look at the next wave of kind of enablement, it's going to be a lot around social media. Right now, 86% of social media feedback is ignored by national brands. That's because if you have 1,000 locations and 1,000 places to look at Yelp reviews, it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed. And so while the national brands are trying to manage their social media centrally, meanwhile all the feedback's coming in a decentralized fashion. So they've either got to staff up and respond to Yelp reviews, because 25% of negative Yelp reviews turn positive if you respond to them, or you empower the frontline managers to deal with it like a customer service response. So if I had a terrible service interaction at a specific store with a specific person, that seems like something the store manager should know. And so there's a lot of new tools, and part of what we're trying to accomplish, to empower the store managers to have the information that they need to respond to customer service on the front lines, and meanwhile on national, be able to look for aggregate trends, like is a new product doing well or received poorly. You can tell that through social media listening. And so those are some of the things that I think people are starting to really think about and do well. And I think it's a really exciting time as we start building a better connection to the local brick and mortar stores that we frequent.
This has been a really interesting conversation, Trevor. Now, if someone wants to learn more about Trevor Sumner and LocalVox, where do they go to get more information?
So it may surprise you, but we have a website at localvox.com. We blog a lot about these issues around the large-scale organizational enablement, as well as enabling the SMB. I write a lot of the blog content because I think it's really important to get our thought leadership out there. I'm at Trevor Sumner on Twitter, and yeah, I'm obviously on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me. So that's a lot of different ways. I also speak at a lot of conferences and that kind of stuff. So please say hello, and feel free to reach out. I'd love to answer any of the questions that you might have.
I want to thank Trevor Sumner for being a great guest on the show. LocalVox, go to localvox.com, and also follow Trevor Sumner on SUMNER on Twitter, and just send him a tweet. He'll answer your question. And I'm Fearless Comp on Twitter. Send me a tweet, and I will answer any question you have too. Before we go, we want to thank our sponsors because they support the show and they make it go. Avatage is a great content marketing company up in the Boston area, avatage.com. Jim Burns is a good friend. Digital Ethos is an educational nonprofit, digitalethos.org. Communication Strategy Group, Arthur Germain, good friend. Brand Telling, PR stuff, he's really good. He writes all our press releases too, super guy. And also, I want to thank Watchitoo because they provide this wonderful TV on the web platform we use to record our show. Marketing Made Simple TV premieres every Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. It encores on Sunday at noon Eastern, and then it syndicates 2 weeks after its premiere. So you'll find it all over the web. So till next time, we'll see you again on Marketing Made Simple TV.